we are here with the episode 2 of June season. And thank you all very much for being a part of the family and appreciating this, our initiative. And as you know, Startup Stories is about meeting new entrepreneurs, learning from them, knowing their stories, understanding the challenges that they face, and trying to understand their ventures. And who knows, tomorrow probably I'll be sitting and interviewing you because motivated by these amazing people, you might have started something on your own. So, we today will be meeting another entrepreneur, and as we always say, they dare and we share. So today we have with us Priyambada Agarwal, and she is the proud owner founder of her initiative called Education and You. And as the name suggests, this is something to do with education. This is something to do with the career of the students, of the professionals. And as we all say, that a strong nation is built on the knowledge base of the nation. So before wasting any more time, I'll straight away go to Priyambada and welcome Priyambada. Thank you so much for being here with us today. So the first thing that I would like to understand is that why education, why this, and perhaps this will become very easy for us to understand if you first tell us something about yourself, your background, how your journey from being a student to a professional to an entrepreneur. How did this happen about you?
Thank you, Dr. Moa, for this session today. I am honored to be on the platform today. And I hope that hearing my journey, hearing some very interesting facts from me, I hope people get inspired and they start up. Becoming an entrepreneur is very easy, but continuing this journey is difficult. So I did not think, when I look back 10 years down, I never thought that I would be here where I am today. Being an entrepreneur never happened. I was in school. I never had any career objective. Was just that, you finish school, you have to get into a college. And once you're into college, things were, again, bleak. College life was so different, meeting new friends, movies, shopping, window shopping, study groups, very different from school life. And again, I did not know what I'm going to do. I was still very blank. I was still exploring options. While exploring options, this gentleman called Mr. Brijesh Dalmia, who is a very close friend of my mother, happened to come home to discuss certain things with her regarding work. And I was looking for an internship. I wanted to do some kind of hands-on internship because I was whiling away my time. And that is when he approached me for a new project that he was starting called a financial literacy program for children and homemakers. Without taking a second guess, I jumped into the program. I worked a year with him. I started off as a project coordinator and ended up becoming a project trainer and faculty who started taking these sessions. And in that entire 1-year journey is when I explored a lot of avenues. I explored and understood a lot of things inside me which I never knew were hidden. And slowly that started giving shape to my career. And the year after that, his elder brother, Mr. Rajesh Dalmia, was starting this educational counseling venture in Calcutta. And he asked me that, would you like to come and join me for work? Again, without a second doubt, I jumped because I started liking the feel of interacting with students and parents. And I jumped into it. I worked with him for 4 long years. He was like a second father to me. He was not just a boss. He was like a teacher, mentor, father, everything. And he taught me hands-on. And I explored every aspect of how to run a business or a venture. It was 2014. I very distinctly remember January. I went up to him and spoke to him and said, sir, can we expand business? Can we explore more avenues? And I did not receive very, I would say, progressive thought process, because obviously it required investments and everybody has different priorities. Therefore, I kept putting it in my head because I was feeling a little suffocated working in after those 4 years in the same territory, doing the same thing. It became very monotonous for me. So I am a person who does things more where my heart sings more than my head sings. So finally in 2014 March, I decided to resign and I walked out of my workplace with a happy note. I took a couple of months to rejuvenate my energy, think about what I want to do. And the kind of queries that I received on a freelance basis made me pull up Education and You. So December of 2014 was when Education and You came into proper establishment. And since then, it's been it's like a baby to me, who I nurture, care, and I have grown it, and I have done hands-on everything about it. So I feel it's like, okay, it's my child, and I need to protect it, I need to take care of it, and I'm doing that.
Right.
I feel elated when yes.
In fact, it happens that your startup, your company, your venture becomes your baby, and that actually is your first love. So you become so possessive about it at times, and so God forbid obsessive, but you can't help it. As an entrepreneur, that's actually what happens to you.
See, I tell you, in these 4 years of my job under Rajesh sir, taught me a lot of work principles, work ethics. And more importantly, he taught me one thing. Whenever you are picking up a project or whenever you have a student that you are working on as a client, to do any kind of a service for him, be it a career counseling or an admission counseling or visa, give your 500% because the person's future, the person's career, the life is in your hand. You are as important as a doctor is or a lawyer is. So do not try to cut corners or take shortcuts or think about the commercials. Yes, you have to think of the commercial because we can't live without it. But when you're doing it, do it with 100%. And I suppose that has so deeply got imbibed inside me that now my family and friends call me a workaholic. They say that the passion that they see in me when I'm working and the satisfaction and the smile they see when I'm working, they don't see it when I'm with them. And I don't know if that's true or not. I don't feel that.
No, it happens actually. It is not that you can consciously get to know, and I can feel it because I'm an educationist myself. Last how many? It's more than 18 years that I've spent teaching, counseling, and guiding students and all that. So I can actually feel it when you say that it becomes kind of your life, your passion, and you become workaholic. I can feel it. I know this actually happens. So just wanted to understand what is the uniqueness of Education and You, like among all counseling services, what is so unique about this?
So then, as the name says, Education and You, the word you here has a very big significance. Here at Education and You, we don't deliver just services like all other counseling or admission consultancies across the city or across the country. We are very much into customization and personalization. Whatever the student requires is what the student would get. We don't try to put in anything extra or bring down anything less. However the child wants. Like career counseling sessions, if you see around the city, have a lot of psychometric tests that people go into. But I would not say I'm against these psychometric tests, not at all. But I am more into doing these, I learned it when I was doing my master's, that more than psychometric tests, it's communication that is needed with the candidate to understand their strengths, weaknesses, passion, dreams, goals. So pulling up what I learned in my masters, pulling up what my experience in the industry says, I formulated this certain document called the self-exploration sheet, which I usually give it out to a student. It's all about trying to understand your inner self. They fill it up and we don't discuss it with their family. I read it and I put my comments. And so when I'm doing a counseling session with a child, it is very easy for me to communicate with them. That's like an icebreaker for me. And that is how I understand. My counseling sessions run for a minimum 1 hour to maximum 3-4 hours and followed by multiple calls. My first objective is to warm up to the student. If I can build that warmthness with them, if I can let them feel that I am not a professional who's just come and will do the job and just walk away, but I am there, somebody to stay in their life as a listener. That's something that will help. Same thing happens when we're doing test preps. All my faculty is taught to teach on a one-on-one basis. We do not go for group classes or batches till it does not come from the client saying that we are 5 friends and we want to do it in a batch only. We prefer a one-on-one because I go back to my days when I was doing tuitions or something. I always wanted one-on-one because I never wanted people around me who I may not know to judge me because I did not understand something or develop an opinion because I've done something wrong. I could be good at certain things, I could be bad at certain things. The bad gets reflected more than the good. So I decided when I was pulling up education and it took me a good 3.5 months to construct this plan of how different I wanted from the others. And I came into the progress of saying that fine, I will do it, where I put in actually customization and personalization.
Absolutely.
So no two students studying the same course will have the same study plan. They'll have it different. As per their requirement, their need, it will be their hours, their timings, everything is there.
Yes, in fact, that I believe is a superb uniqueness because it is so much needed. As a teacher, I can definitely tell you that no two students are same. They are different in terms of their skills, their ability to learn. In fact, there are a lot of studies which have proved that there are students who pick up by listening, there are students who pick up by seeing, there are students who pick up by touching. So all our 5 senses are not equally there in every student. So the best thing that you are actually doing is to understand the requirement of each student separately and then planning for him or her to complete and clear the exam. That's absolutely something that is needed today because in a batch, every student is lost. When you teach in a batch, especially for these kind of exams like I believe TOEFL or any other exam where you are actually competing at a very, very tough standard. And if you teach in a batch, then it is the benefit of the teacher only and nothing is going to the student.
That's right. And also what happens now when you are doing these one-on-one sessions and later these kids have to go in for admission counseling, it becomes a much easier journey. Because during these one-on-one sessions, it's not that they come into a session and we just do the studying part and go away. We do have a lot of other conversations. That helps me pull out a lot of emotions from them, which I can keep a track of and use them later when we are drafting their statements of purposes and essays to the applications.
Correct.
So since 2014, or I would say actually since 2010, when I started working, till now, in these 11 years of me being in the industry, I would say I have an entire new set of friends that I have made, and these friends are none other than my students. Once they are done, they fly out of the city because we do both India and abroad. So they fly out of the city or they fly out of the country. Technology has kept them connected to me via Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp. And I feel, trust me, it gives me the biggest happiness when I see them smiling, when I see their dreams being achieved. And the best part is when they come back to the city, they insist on meeting. Or when I see them in a shopping mall or in a cafe, means I don't have to go and introduce themselves and say, hi, means, you know, you were one of my students. In fact, they come approach me and they hug me, and the shine, the twinkle in the eyes is something which makes me feel content that yes, I did something good. It's a, I don't know, I can't explain that feeling, but that's something which is very contentful for me.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can understand, because these are those few occasions which also I had, like just to share a bit, like I remember once in Pune, I was there teaching in a college, in a Balaji group, one of the colleges. So the director suddenly came and said that, ma'am, there is a placement drive going on today, and there are a few students who are a little bit feeling nervous. So if you just go and, you know, keep them calm and cool, and whatever the last moment tips you want to give them and all that. So I just went to the auditorium where the placement process was going on, and the moment I entered the auditorium, within seconds it happened, and I could not realize what all had happened. A girl just came running in a proper business suit, and a very small petite girl, and she just jumped on me and she was on my lap, like I was literally giving her a monkey hug, and she was absolutely on me. And then I literally picked her up and put her down, and I said, Sonali, you here? And then all the other students surrounding me, they were like staring me at like this, because she was the one who had come for the selection. Okay, she was the person who was doing the selections, and the moment she saw me walking, she was my student from 2008 batch, sorry, and she saw me there, and she was like, ma'am, and she shouted and she hugged me and she was on top of me. And other students were like, oh my God, we were calling her ma'am and she's taking her interview, and this ma'am is on the lap of our ma'am. So this feeling, that even though she's there as the superior, as the boss, as everybody, but then the moment she sees me, she comes running and she forgets that she's there for a placement drive. She forgets that she has to maintain her seriousness and being, like that. So that's the feeling.
I understand you. I feel you.
Right.
So I get calls from a lot of my school teachers who taught me in school, asking me to do career counseling for their children. And when I do them, and when they call me back to share their feedback, what their children felt about me, those are moments when I feel proud of this achievement of mine, because those teachers who literally nurtured me, who in front of whom I did not know that I had to act or be impressive, or in the future they are going to they feeling proud of what my dreams are. They are happy at what they've taught me. It gives me the pride that yes, I have been able to give them proper respect.
Right.
When I go back to my school, I go back to school once a year. Obviously, I've not been to school for 1.5 years because of the pandemic, but because schools are closed. But otherwise, I usually try to go back to school once a year to meet my teachers, because they are the foundation. They have been actually one of the most important foundation after my mother to be what I am today.
Right.
I am really, I would say I am a blessed child when I say I have had a wonderful family. I have had wonderful teachers in my family because of whom I am here today. I have had wonderful set of school teachers. I have had wonderful mentors, that is, in life. And even today with Education in You, I am the founder, but we are the 5 more advisors.
Okay.
They are very close friends, and they are my mentors, my advisors. I would say they are the pillars who stand right next to me to help me grow Education in You by leaps and bounds.
Right. So I think it runs in the family. I was thinking of asking you why education. You actually answered that, it runs in the family, and how motivated you were by the concept of education. I would like to understand, one of the most important things that everyone thinking about a business or an entrepreneurship starts thinking, the difficulties, the challenges. What were the difficulties that you faced? What were the challenges that you faced what happened when you decided to start the business, and what were those situations where you literally felt that no, I can't go on? What were the challenges?
See, there has never been a time when I felt that I can never go on. I am not a person who's a philosophical person, but I'm a very positive person in saying that every morning there's a new day with a new sunshine and it's going to be a good day.
Okay.
And being passionate about this industry has never made me feel very dejected. Yeah, there have been bad days, there have been good days, there have been negative feedbacks also at times from clients, as in parents or students, which really pinch me in my heart, and I think about them, overthink about it, and I start feeling bad about it. But on the other flip hand, I said I have a very supportive family. My first teacher beside my mother, actually not, there are two teachers beside my mother who taught me the nitty-gritties of being independent, of doing something, of achieving my goal, is my great-grandfather. That is my mother's grandfather. My mother herself, very strong lady, and my uncle, my mother's brother. He is at a very high position today in his career. And he has always been my idol. I and he have a lot of bickering, a lot of heated arguments, because obviously he thinks that I could do better. He tries to pull out the best in me. Even today, whenever we're sitting, he talks to me and we end up in having a heated argument because he might feel my ways are wrong or I'm doing wrong. And at that point, I feel that, oh, he's just being the bossy uncle and just, trying to overpower me. But when I think it at length, I feel that maybe, he was trying to show me a different insight to the future.
Right.
And my great-grandfather, so business has been in the family. And I think that growing up next to my great-grandfather till he passed away in 2012, he left those genes inside me, inside my blood, to be confident, to not lose hope, and to do something. The challenges that, if you ask me, I faced were, yes, my parents not being very sure if I would be able to take off this entrepreneurship. Extended family saying that I was too young to start a business and I should go back to a job, because in 2014 when I resigned from my job and I took a break, and in those break hours I would literally be loitering around the house or the entire city, visiting malls and all. Everybody thought that I have had a good chill time and I need to get back to a proper job, else my career is going to be indoors. But I don't know. I never wanted to go back to a job. I started slow. In fact, I did not take any investment from anybody. It was all my savings from my previous job. All these years of pocket money saving, everything together inculcated, and I started education. I was ready to take that risk. I started slow. I took one step at a time. Ready to fall. Always knew what my worst nightmare could be. And I think those small steps in the initial have pulled me to where I am today. I'm independent financially in terms that education in you does not depend on any loans, any capital investments from any third party.
Yes. That's actually a superb statement that any startup can say, that my company is not under loan. My company is not indebted to anyone. We are not supposed to pay anything. We don't owe anybody anything. So that's a very, very big statement. And in fact, I think you are absolutely right in the way you said that many people think that startup means it's a question of lakhs and lakhs and lakhs of rupees, and we have to take a loan or somebody has to invest. Probably with a proper planning, like if you're really willing to go ahead, then with proper savings, with proper planning, you can always start from something very small and then take a step at a time and grow it big. And when you have the capacity, then you invest more money.
Correct. See, I'll tell you, whenever you're doing a startup, initially it is always about one-man army or two-man army, depending on what kind of a startup is it also. I was a one-man army. Today, I am a team of 12.
Amazing.
And the pandemic hit us. Yeah, the pandemic hit us. It was a very difficult time last year during the pandemic. but the entire team stood. Why? Is because everybody got their due respects in time, and it was not that I was cutting out my pocket or anybody else's pocket. Because we had worked so hard we've been working so hard for years that we knew that fine, if we have to take out each of our salaries from the company's investment or savings, that's fine. Because we know we can turn that around. The next year we can work double the amount.
Absolutely.
That passion, and each of my teammates is not an employee for me.
Correct.
They all have their own individual decisive power. They all have their individualism where they can work. They don't have strict working hours. They know that what has to be done for the day, what is the target, and what they have to achieve at the end of the day is what is all that I put it up.
Right, right.
So you sit down at 6 in the morning to work, or you sit at 2 in the afternoon, doesn't matter.
Absolutely. That's something, and in fact this comes, it's a two-way thing, that when you are giving them the freedom, I would definitely say kudos to the team that they are respecting the freedom. They are not misusing it. You know, there are tendencies among all of us as humans to, whenever we get something, we get a freedom, we get the flexibility, we generally tend to misuse it. That okay, nobody is taking a stick and behind us, so it's okay, we are not guarded, so let's do whatever we feel like. So that's
See, I feel that that would only come in when you treat your employees as employees and you run like a boss.
correct.
I communicate with them constantly. I am a very upfront, frank, blunt person.
Right.
There are days when I don't feel like working, or while working I just want to take a 15 minutes rest to maybe call up a friend and chat in the middle of work.
Correct.
If I am allowed to do that, they are also allowed to do the same.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I always tell them that, if you don't feel like working, or you want to take a quick 20-minute, 30-minute, 1 hour gap in the middle, be upfront. Tell me on my face that, I just have lost my concentration. I need a 1 hour break and get back.
Correct.
I will completely agree on that, rather than giving me very cheeky excuses which can really infuriate my mind.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So in fact, at this point, I would like to ask you that, as you said, you're working with students with their career counseling and all, there are a lot of people who want to do something on their own, want to have their startup and all that. What is your suggestion to them? What's your tips for them, or what kind of businesses do you think would work? Or let's say, how should they get started? What is it that you would advise them from your experience of being a startup?
First piece of advice is have a clear plan. If not in your head, on an Excel file or a Word file, have a clear plan. Do not start without a plan. And B, stop listening to what the society says. We live in a society where people are more interested in your life than their own life. And they're very much, the advisors available without knowledge are too many. You can hear them, but don't get influenced, or don't start underestimating yourself because of their supposed advice. So if you have your plan set, be confident, take that first step. Risk is involved in everything. It's even risky to step out of the house. I might step out of the house and there can be a car which can come and bash me up and I can be over. So that does not stop me from stepping out of the house. Similarly, a business is same. Take small steps, be prepared for the worst nightmares, and do your homework very well. If it's a product that you're coming up with, know the history and the geography of it, so that when you come to a hurdle, when you come to a stuck-up point, you know how to come out of it instead of giving up.
Absolutely.
And there can be a good day, there can be a bad day, and then when you start a startup, there will be too many bad days than being good days. So appreciate those good days rather than feeling bad about the bad days.
Right. In fact, as I always say, it's all about patience. Like being an entrepreneur myself now for the last 1 year, I can understand what patience is, like what you are trying to say, that yes, there are good days and there are bad days. So don't give up your patience on the bad days, because if every day would have been a good day, you would have forgotten to appreciate the good ones, right? There are bad days actually. That's what makes you appreciate.
Yeah. See, earning profits definitely necessary. But trying to make profit from day one is something like dreaming that the moon is going to come and kiss you.
Absolutely.
So you should be prepared for the first 6-8 months that there should be no profit. Your objective should be to be at par. That means the amount that you're spending, you're at least earning, so that you're not spending out of your pocket. And even if that happens, it's a learning process. Any startup, starting any business is a learning process for the first 6-8 months. And then slowly, gradually, you are able to build your base. And be honest to yourself. You can't cheat people, or you can't cheat your own self for too long. It's going to come to an end. It's like a dead end. Today or tomorrow, you will come to an end.
Absolutely.
So don't do that.
Absolutely. So
be hungry to work.
Absolutely. As I feel you very correctly said that right from day one, getting profit is definitely it's something that should not be your agenda. But then, why would you earn profit, or why should you earn profit, is the question to which you should have a very clear-cut answer. And that's actually what takes time to figure out what, you might start with something in your mind, but then when you absolutely are in the market, in front of the customers, in front of your audience, that's the point when you realize perhaps you may not have been thinking everything correctly, like what we call it pivoting. At times you might have to take a little bit turn, twist, and change a little bit in your business. And so for first 1.5 years, 2 years, it is like the market will first judge you on your honesty. They will first see your performance, and then only they will say that, okay, yes, this person is trying to do something, so let's be a part of it. Let's be a part of the initiative. And when that happens, perhaps that's the point from when you start earning the profit. So till then, it is you, your investments, your hard work, your effort that you have to keep putting in. Till the time people are not convinced that yes, you are there for them, you are doing or you are planning something for them. And yes, why should they be? Because they have 2,000 options around them, right? So that's the beauty of a starter.
Yeah. What you're saying is very correct. What I feel is that before trying to earn money as profits, earn respect, earn a place in the market for yourself. That is more important. That's the first profit that you should target. Then once you've earned these two, you would definitely earn money. And trust me, if you look at back and ask me, Priyamvada, what has been your profit in the last 11 years? I would say the respect that people have for me, the reputation of the way I work, which is very transparent and clear, and very important is a name for myself and my brand.
Absolutely. That's the intangible asset that you have to build up first, because until and unless you have that intangible asset, you cannot liquidate it into profit. That's how I put it from the business point of view.
I learned this lesson over years. My father's father, my grandfather, he passed away very early when I was in school, and I had very least interaction with him. It was a very, very formal relation with him. But he was known to the industry, to Calcutta business market. Like his name even today floats around. And if I say I am so-and-so's granddaughter, I have people who are aged, like about 75, 80-year-old, they stand up. Oh, you're so-and-so's granddaughter. I would say it's not the money that he earned and left behind. It's that respect that he earned, the reputation that he earned, and which is still, he's been gone for 20 odd years.
Right.
And even today, people hell of a lot respect. And in Calcutta business market, definitely.
Right. So
over years, when I hear stories about how he used to work around from my dad, from my grandmother, from my pishi, I feel that maybe I am walking. I mean, he's blessing me from upstairs. I'm sure if he was alive today, he would be very proud of the fact that I am walking on his steps of trying to first earn a reputation, a respect for myself before my.
Absolutely. So that was really wonderful. Wonderful to know, Priyambada. Wonderful to know your venture. It was really, these days it's very rare to get to know the stories from our joint families and get to know how the entire family supports you, because we are all broken up today. Our relationships are broken, our families are broken, and we have forgotten the essence that when we have a family, when we have people joined up together, staying together, that actually is a big support. That's a big learning. That's a big experience. So yes, perhaps we have forgotten many. So I would say knowing you was really interesting today, but more than that, knowing the kind of family you have belonged to, knowing the essence that you have brought into your business, the essence of past 3 generations that's now in the education and you, the knowledge, the expertise of 3 generations which is there in one startup. So that's really amazing. So thank you so much, Priyambada, today for coming and meeting us, for being here with us. And all people who are watching us, please do subscribe to this channel, because until and unless you are a part of us, we would not be able to bring in people, we would not be able to contribute to your growth, to your intellect. As you all know, My Cool Guru initiative has started just for one reason. We want to create an open, transparent ecosystem of students, teachers, and professionals. One platform where everybody can come share their expertise, knowledge, information, and in a process share with each other, care for each other, and grow together. I believe the last 1.5 years have given us the biggest lesson that we cannot survive alone. We would need people, and we would need people irrespective of the caste, creed, religion, gender, anything, locality, anything. We need people to survive. So that's why I keep saying that, come, let's build this community together, build the ecosystem together, because when you all come to My Cool Guru and you become stronger, that's when we are able to do much bigger work, much greater work, right? So thank you all so much. Thank you so much for being with us, Priyambada. We are really indebted to you for sharing so much of an experience, and through you, perhaps we got to know a lot about the education, the career, and the importance of customizing the career solutions for the students, right? So I believe we'll keep on.
Dr. Yes, please. Thank you, Dr. Moa, for this wonderful session where I was able to share my journey. Before we end, I'd just say one thing. Planning of a career is very important in today's difficult time with the entire education system going into the dump because of the pandemic. So it's not that I'm asking you to come to me for a career planning, each of you who's watching this, but I would simply say that do a career plan. Very important. If you need my help, I'm always around.
Absolutely.
You just need to give me a call or WhatsApp me or visit my website, and I'm right here.
Absolutely. And for all that information about the number, the website, and other details, just check the description box. We have all the details out there. So you're most welcome to get in touch with Priyambada ma'am at any point of time for any kind of need. And not only for the students, even professionals who feel there is a block in their path, there is a block in the career, you're most welcome to meet her, talk to her, because in today's time, we need a lot of upskilling and reskilling because things are changing today. So you can always get in touch with ma'am. You can get in touch with us. So we are all a team working together. So thank you all for being here. Thank you all for watching, and thank you, Priyambada.